Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the Brother Love Podcast. Of course, I'm Tate Sutton, and Jake, introduce yourself, buddy.
Hi, I'm Jake Wood. I am currently the part-time youth minister slash intern, however you want to call me. But I am the intern at Oak Hill Church of Christ right now.
Yeah, man, you're doing a great job, bud. We were glad to have you. I wanted to have him on here today because of our topic, and it's talking about youth, talking about should we involve our kids in church, you name it. And I think that'd be a great discussion between me and you. But as we said, we're at the Oak Hill Church of Christ in Covington. And we would love for you to come and see us if you're local. We're trying to just talk more, get stuff out there on the web, and just help people as best we can. But we're grateful that you're listening if you are. But well, Jake, man, like I said, buddy, you're doing a great job. You have a great love and passion for youth. If you did not, you wouldn't be sitting here on this computer with me. And so it's that's why I wanted to talk about this specific topic with you. And I think as we jump into this, I had a couple questions to ask, but we're just talking about youth in general. But I wanted to kind of target the parents first because I think that's a real important one. We have people listening who are not just kids, obviously, that are adults. But should you involve your kids in church? And I'll start with that. But I think that's an astounding yes. Um, I think that your kids need Jesus more than anything. And, sometimes people struggle with that and maybe struggling with those priorities of maybe involving kids in sports more or church more. But if you had to narrow it down, church would be the most important thing in the world. I think another thing too is you know where is a better place that your kid will learn values like morals and how to be kind and how to be good to their neighbor and all those things. That is the best place for them. What are your thoughts on that, or anything you want to add to that question?
Well, I think it's very important to have your kids in church. But before I answer that question, first of all, thank you for having me
Sure.
on the podcast.
Yeah, man, no
Absolutely
problem, buddy.
honored. This is incredible. But
Yeah.
I was telling everybody, I want to thank my mom and my dad. I made it finally.
We can take a session at the whole end if you want to, and you can give a shout out to your mom.
Yeah, I am. I've made it. I'm on the Brotherly Love
I
podcast.
hear you,
There we
man.
are.
It ain't
But
nothing too special, but we appreciate it.
oh, come on. But the question, I do, yes, I believe that you should indeed involve your kids in church for the purpose that when they're young, we are we are impressionable. Malleable might be the word that I would use for that. You think about the cliche example of clay and how before it's being placed into the furnace or the kiln or whatever you call it, it's soft, it's squishy, it can be shaped and formed into however it needs to be. And if you think about it, somebody who's not used to working with clay or somebody who doesn't know how to make pottery gets a hold of that clay, how's your pot going to look at the end? Or how is your cup or teapot going to look by the end of it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a little stretch to call it a teapot, right? It's going to be poor. So the place where your kids need to be while they're malleable, while they're impressionable, while they are laying the foundation for how they perceive the world needs to be in the hands of someone. And I say someone, some people, a group, a community where, hey, we know what's up and we can help to solidify that foundation. And we can help to, like you say, work with that malleable clay and shape these kids' viewpoint of the world and how they view things through the lens of Christ,
Yeah. I think that y'all have heard this before. I'm sure you have. That I know. I think it's even between the ages of 2 and 5 or something like that. I'm not quoting the numbers exactly. That a child is so like moldable, impressionable, and sometimes they will take those years for the rest of their life of like their values and stuff like that. Especially when they become a teenager, that's just as equal. That
Right.
I've heard people that have become adults way later. Later on down their life, they're an adult at that point, but they said, the stuff I heard in my youth group that stuck with me for my entire life. Those godly principles about just being a good neighbor and whatever you want to put in that category. You're right. It's really absolutely very necessary for your child if you want them to be successful. Give them Jesus, give them the best thing in the world that's going to help them be a better father, a better husband, wife, daughter, whatever. It's going to help in so many ways.
Right. In Proverbs 22, verse 6 comes to mind. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when
Yeah.
he is old, he will not depart from it.
You know why
So
you
yeah,
have to train them? You know why you have to train them is because they come to this world untrained.
correct.
Children are untrained humans, and we have to
Mhm.
show them the correct way. And if we just let them experience life on their own, I mean, it's, I know when I tried to do that, it was a recipe for disaster for myself. So
Right.
you're
Yeah.
right. It's one of those things for sure.
Hmm.
Our second one here is why should I follow God while I'm young? So we're talking about our young people today. Why should, in your opinion, if I need to go first, I can. Why should a young person follow God now rather than waiting?
Again, I think it goes back to the foundation principle of it. It goes back to when you're young, again, those core fundamental ideas, they are ingrained within you. I know I
Yeah,
was raised in the church personally, and I am beyond thankful for that, because now when I was faced with problems, or when I was faced with something that didn't quite feel right, I had those teachings to fall back on,
yeah,
and I didn't make so many bad choices. Now I did. We could be here for a whole hour talking about stupid choices I've made.
sure.
But
All
I
of us could.
had I had that gut feeling every time, where it was like when I was going to make a choice, or when I was going to say something, or when I was thinking something, every aspect of my life was, whether I wanted to or not, it was projected through that lens of Christ. It was like the Bible was stamped on every fiber of my DNA. And when I was offered, um, when I was offered a cigarette, or when I was offered a vape, it wasn't a problem for me to go, no,
Sure. Yeah.
that's not what I do, you know.
Yeah.
Or when I was offered ideas of that were contrary to what the Bible said, I was just immediately, I knew it. I was said, no, absolutely not. So I think it's important to do biblical things, be in a biblical space, be at church at this young age, because this is when it seeps into you, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. This is when it sticks with you, you know?
Sure. And I know me too. Like the hardest times of my life personally was when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That seemed to me when the devil was the most after me. I'm talking about just temptation, just people I shouldn't have been around in some ways. It was like 2.0 compared to anything I've ever faced as an adult. And as an adult, you kind of get settled in, you're married, you have kids, whatever, and all that stuff. But as a teenager, it's like, man, it's just like the devil's just like, hey, I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get them while they're young,
Mhm.
and that's true because you think about Ecclesiastes 12 verse 1. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth. I think Solomon's telling that for a reason. That number one, we may not even have an adulthood. We may pass away. We may not make it that far. Not to sound like a downer or anything, but that's realistic in that sense that you should start early loving God. So because you may not have a long life to have a chance to repent and turn. We've all
Mhm.
heard stories about people who thought they had more time and they just didn't.
Mm.
But I think too, it'll benefit us so much if we start early, like to be a better person. It'll benefit us to have a happier life and to stay away from all kinds of bad things, addictions, whatever. I think it's important to start when you're young. It's certainly not. We're wasting time if we're not.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. We talked about last week about fitting in and standing out, so we won't spend too much time on that. But do you think it's a challenge sometimes for our teenagers to take a stand for Jesus? Do you think it's getting harder or easier?
I I would say harder, and the reason I say this is because, well, first of all, to understand why it's hard to stand out, you have to understand the nature of the world. And the nature of the world is eradicate Jesus.
Yeah.
That's how the world works. When it sees Jesus, it kicks him out, right? And whenever we as Christians attempt to emulate or copy or act like Jesus, Christ-like is the word for it, right?
Hmm.
We are hated. It says so in John chapter 15, verses 18 through 21. It says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belonged to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also.
Yeah.
If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. I mean, I love that. We are called out of the world, yet the world attempts to eradicate Jesus. That's why it's so fundamentally hard to stand out, is because the world's trying to get rid of us. It's trying to
Sure.
get rid of Christians. It's trying to eradicate the idea of Jesus in every possible way that it can.
Yeah.
But why is it hard for youth specifically? I can tell you it's right here.
Yeah.
I think this is probably one of the biggest reasons why it's hard to stand out, because this right here is one of the, for those of you that are listening on audio, if we do have an audio platform,
Yeah.
I'm holding up my phone. Phones are lightning fast communication, and the devil now has a platform to spread so much faster and more efficiently, and in a way that's more enticing for our young people. I mean, you sit on, I know I'm a victim of this, sitting there on your phone and just scrolling and just looking through stuff. It's like you're hit with so many ideas all at once. It's like sin can now spread so much faster, and the idea of conforming to the world itself is now kind of like projecting itself faster. You can see what they're doing in Japan right now on your phone if you want,
Mm-hmm.
It's just like sin is traveling at a rate that it wasn't so long ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've always heard that too. People even back in the day, they'd say, if you wanted to sin, you had to go looking for it. Now it's
Right.
in your pocket. Now
Yeah.
it's literally in your pocket. You can be on things that you shouldn't be on in 2.7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. And I think it's hard. And fitting in general, 1 Peter 4:4, I think your scripture was great. And I think that's the idea of, Jesus already told us that it's going to happen. It's going to
Yeah.
be difficult. People are, the devil his mission is to eradicate Jesus. I mean, to get that out of our minds, and that's his
Mhm.
goal. 1 Peter 4:4, in regard to these, they think it's strange that you do not run with them. So, teenagers, if you're listening to this, prepare your minds already and say, hey, people are going to think it's really weird when I don't do what they do. So just go ahead and get used to that in a way. Custom yourself to that of just being prepared to say, hey, you know, that's a part of following Jesus. People are
Yeah.
going to think sometimes my decisions aren't the best or whatever, that I'm living differently. But hey, if I'm doing what God wants me to do, that's the best thing that I can be doing. So you're going to
Absolutely.
have to stand out at times. You are
Yes, you are.
to be faithful.
And the way that my old youth minister, his name is Mr. Perry Price. Shout out, Mr. Perry. But he basically told us that the best way to stand out, specifically with drugs and alcohol and with things like that, when conforming to the world, he gave us, I loved this so much, and I want to do it for our youth group. He gave us these silicone bracelets that we wore. I wore two, one on each hand.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bracelet, it said, "That's not me." And the purpose of that bracelet was, you need to know who you are so you know who you aren't. So when
Yeah.
you're faced with the decision of, do I grab that drink? Do I grab that cigarette? Do I grab that blunt? Do I grab that? Do I reach out and take that? No.
Yeah.
Because why? That's not me. How many times do you have to tell somebody, hey, I don't drink? Usually once, right? Or how many times do you have to tell somebody, hey, no, I don't smoke? Usually once. Mr. Perry told us, that he used to tell people that he would say, hey, that's not me. And that would be it. He said he only ever had one knucklehead that tried him a second time. And he said, dude, I told you already, I don't do that. That's not me. That's a powerful statement. And to have it branded basically to your wrists, every time you reach out, you look down and see that bracelet and you go, I shouldn't do that. Yeah. I love that. Sorry.
No, you're good, man, and that's true. I've always heard too. Make the decision beforehand. Don't just let it be something that you've already. Somebody offered me a drink I shouldn't partake in. Oh, let me think about it. Do I do this? Do I not? No, you already make your decision before that even happens, and say, hey, I'm not doing that. That's not who I am.
Right.
Whatever it may be, for sure.
Yeah.
Can God use me even though I'm young? Do you think God can use young people?
I do. I think God can use young people in ways that he wouldn't be able to use you or I. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I
I
was gonna
believe
say.
that God can use young people in a way that they can relate to each other. They can relate to people that I or you or anyone else may not be able to reach. It's God using those young people in a way that only he can, in a way that they only can relate to their peers. I've seen stories of kids that have gone out and done amazing things for Christ. And I
Mm-hmm.
think why would our church, why would our kids be any different? And I've told
Yep.
that to our kids, like, what are you doing for Christ? Because you
Yeah.
can, you absolutely
Yep.
can. It's not that you can't. It's not that, I mean, sure, there's some things you can't do. You may not be old enough to drive. You may not be old enough to do certain things, but
Yeah.
you've got tools at your disposal for you to do the work of Christ at even such a young age. I mean, you
Yep.
can. Absolutely, yes. I do believe you can be used by God at a young age.
I've told this story before. There was a lot of baptisms happening in a church one time, and people were like, "What in the world? Like, where is this coming from? Where are these people coming from?" And it came down to one teenage boy who was all he was doing was inviting people to church.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Wow, like we didn't think he could do that, or the young people could do that." But young people can impact more people, like you said, that we don't even have in contact with. Like they go to school, we can't go to those people. I don't plan on checking back into high school anytime soon. I don't want to, but
Me neither.
uh, I can't get in contact with those people, and that there are so many things they can do that I can't, and
Mhm.
vice versa. There's people I can contact that young people can't contact as much. I get that. It's definitely a part of it, but I think what's interesting when you think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and you think of that powerful story about how they said no to the king, they would not bow the knee. It's said that they were anywhere between 13 and 20 years old.
Mm. Wow.
That's what history tells us. So if anybody thinks there's oh I'm just young, I can't do anything, look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, read that story, and then sit there and tell me you can't do anything because
Right.
I don't it's hard to even find another comparable story of it, like standing up for your faith. I mean, they're all wonderful. But that's probably one on my top chart that's just like, man, those dudes right there, they just like, hey, even if God doesn't save us, we're still not going to bow the knee. And that
Yeah.
right there blew my mind. Then when I found out they were young people, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
that's a message to young people that hey, you need to do something now, and you are powerful. You have the God can use you in His will if you will let Him.
Hmm. Absolutely, he
Most
will.
Yep. I know you had that verse. Did you want to talk about 1 Timothy 4:12?
Yeah, 1 Timothy 4:12, it says, "Let no one despise your youth. Be an example to the believers." I have a different version of that same verse here. It says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set
Yep.
an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." It is it is not an excuse. You know, it's not an excuse to use your age
Hmm.
to say I can't do something.
True.
I think it's funny. I always think of Moses making excuses when he was met at the burning bush,
Yep.
with God saying, "I need you to go talk to Pharaoh. I need you to do this," and he's, "Oh, I can't talk. I know I'm not good with words. I wouldn't. It's not me, not me, God." We find so many excuses, and I think some of our youth may have that in their minds of saying, "Oh well, I'm so young, I can't do this." It's not.
Hmm.
Hey, hello, wake up. It's not the fact that you're young. You can be doing this now. You can be doing this in high school. You can be doing this in middle school, even. You can be doing this at these ages. You can be talking about your faith. You can be reaching out to people, and you can be doing things that God has called you to do. It's not something you can use as an excuse, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love what the way that version gives kind of like the definition of that let no man look down on you. What does it say? Because you are young or
Yeah.
whatever it says. But the idea is there, don't be an example to the believers. Be an
Mhm.
example. So young people, now is the time to stand up and say, hey, I'm going to be a Christ-like person. I'm going to be a Christian. I'm going to do this now. So, because most time, I know I was not perfect, and there was times where people said, "Oh, he's just young. He just made some mistakes." But I needed to try my very best to just do as best as I could to be an example to other people. And you
Right.
can do that now. Don't wait till you're old. Now's
Right.
the time to do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Our last couple here. Friendship that build or break your faith. So basically, friendships is the idea here. Is there certain times where your faith has basically made people leave your life? I know it has for me. And what I mean by that is, I've just simply tried to follow Jesus, and I've had some folks who were good friends who are now non-existent
Hmm.
because of that, and that's okay. That was their choice. I mean, of course, I was trying to be kind and all that, but sometimes some of those things happen, but would you say that the people in our life, would you say that they make an impact on us whether we know it or not?
I think you are who you hang out with.
Yeah.
I think if you are in, as this verse says here, we can go ahead and read it. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. It says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits."
Yep.
It's true. I mean, especially being young, being a teenager, like we said, being impressionable, being just learning how the world works, learning how things are. When you see your friends doing things, that
Mhm.
affects you. It's like you think of the idea of what goes in comes out type deal. What you expose yourself to is what eventually is going to go into your heart and then out your mouth.
Yeah.
It's like you are subject to the environment that you are in.
Mhm.
So and that's not even just friends. We can expound on that a little bit and say, well, what about the example from our parents,
Sure.
our grandparents, our, in your case, our preacher,
Mhm.
our youth minister, in my case? What sort of things am I hearing from them? How am I seeing them behave? Is this an example I want to follow, or is this
Mhm.
something I need to sever from my life and separate myself from? I mean, these kids, I have faith that our kids know what's right and what's wrong. I think that Oak Hill has done a great job of, I've only been here for about a year. And
Sure.
I think that they are, when I came in here, I was impressed with their knowledge. I was impressed with their decision making capabilities. I have faith that these kids know what's right and what's wrong. And I have faith they'll make the correct decision when things come. But that may not be true for other people. That may not be true for kids who didn't grow up in the church. So I
Mhm.
think that when they see friends and they see their environment, they see people that they're close to, they see mom smoking, they see dad drinking, they see abusive relationships within the family. They see these things, they take that as fact, and they haven't been taught anything else.
Yep.
So I think that indeed, yes, friendships, relationships in general, your environment, especially when you're young, shapes who you are and who you come out to be. I tell
Yeah.
this story all the time about um, I may be butchering the story, but the general idea is that there was a father who was a drug addict, alcoholic, no good for nothing, right? And he has two sons, two twin brothers, and one of the sons turns out to be a CEO, and one son turns out to be a drug addict, an alcoholic, and nothing, right?
Mhm.
And they say that, oh, somebody interviews both of them, and they hear from they hear from the son that turned out to be a drug addict and an alcoholic and whatever, and they said, well, that's what my dad did, or that's what I saw my friends doing. that's just what that's just what I saw. It's what I did. I was basically destined to be here. So I mean, that's it. That's how it turned out to be where I am. And
Yeah.
they interviewed the CEO. They asked about him. He has family, kids, goes to church, all the things. And he said, well, I saw my dad doing these things, these other things, and I saw my friends doing these other things. And I made a decision when I was young that I was not going to be that. I was going to be better than my father. I was going to be better than my friends. I was going to be better than the environment that I was in. And look where I am.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really is a powerful story to be like, how do you as a Christian, and how do our youth as young Christian men and women, um, how do they react to their environment? How do they
Yep.
react to influence? Are they going to make the right decision? It's things we have to think about and things we have to prepare our youth for, I believe.
Absolutely, man. I had a buddy of mine. We hung out literally every day. We were best friends, and it was so funny. We had the same laugh in high school. We had the
Really?
same laugh. We started to talk similar, and there was one time I took a phone call, and they said, "This is not Tate. This is so and so." And I went, "No, this is Tate." But we sounded so alike that people literally could not tell us apart on the telephone. But that's how much company, we
Mhm.
were. But that was a good thing in scenario. We were just great friends, man. That was awesome. But that's crazy that our laughs sounded the same. We started to talk the same.
Yeah.
Our mannerisms were the same. It was just unreal. So imagine taking that on a serious note that you know on the opposite end spectrum, not comparing who I'm talking about, but think about, if we're around people who we shouldn't be around, think about how that's going to influence us. It
Yeah.
has me in my life. And I certainly know God is telling us this for a reason. He's not lying. He's not saying, "Oh, I just don't want you to do this." No, He's simply already warning you, "Hey, just be careful who you hang out with, because it's going to shape you." That's how human beings work. We're people, whether we think we
Yeah.
are or not, and it certainly will make an impact. For our last one
Absolutely.
here, as we run out of time, but I put at the very bottom there, I want to encourage young people to stay faithful to God. I
Mhm.
think so many times we lose young people to the world. I think so many times I think young people fall into that big trap of thinking, man, there's just so much more out there that is to offer than what God is giving me. And I think that's the biggest lie that's ever been told. I think all these verses we've talked about, that's why Solomon said at the end of his life, he had all the money in the world, yet he sits there and tells people, hey, remember your creator in the days of your youth. So I want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, whether you're at Oak Hill, whether you're wherever, now's the time to cling on to God and to hold on
Mhm.
to Him.
Yeah.
I've never met a person who has been faithful to God and at the end go, man, that was just such a big waste of time. I just really regret that. No, every one of them go, man, I just love my Lord and I'm just so close. So glad I'm close to Him. That's how I feel in my life. I'm so glad that I wish I would have not wasted more time in my life and been closer to God. And it's just always how that works. But I want to encourage young people to stay faithful. And you're welcome to throw anything in there you want to throw in.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now is the time. Again, like I said earlier, your age is not an excuse. Whether you say, "Oh, I'm too old," even let's flip it around, right? Oh, too old. It's not true. I'm too old to make a difference, or I'm too young to make a difference. You can't use age as an excuse not to cling to God and not to do the things He has for you. So yeah, if like you said, if you're listening to this, whether at Oak Hill or not, I encourage you now. Today is the time. No more excuses.
Yeah.
Don't wait around. Or if you have waited too long, make the decision today. Do it now. Be the Christian that God has you planned to be. Do the things that He has called you to do. Um,
Mhm.
Quit making excuses. I think that's the thing that gets us caught up most of the time, is finding a way to weasel out of it.
Yeah.
Find a place. Find Oak Hill. Find a church near you. Find a place where you can find a community. Community is a great place where you can be involved and rooted in a church. It's a place where you can ensure that you will be where you can ensure that you'll have the tools, you'll have the people, you'll have the information that you need to be able to do what God has planned for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, have people to keep you accountable.
Absolutely, man. Well, young people, we love you. Hope we can help you. We are here for you and we're on your team. We just want to see you succeed. And the best way to see you succeed is to be on God's side. And I
Hmm.
think that's all we can ever hope for, is to be on His side. So appreciate it, buddy. Do you want to give a
Hmm.
shout out to anybody who's listening?
Yeah, I'll just shout out mom and dad. Hi, I made it. I'm on the
Yeah,
Brotherly Love podcast.
you're here, man.
Also, just really briefly, um,
Sure.
just wanted to go ahead and say, like I said, we're inviting people to Oak Hill. So if you have youth, send them our way. We have a very wonderful youth group full of absolutely lovely kids. They
Mhm.
are fantastic, friendly, and they would be more than happy to have your kid be with us. We'd love to have you. On Sunday mornings, we start Bible class at 9:30 a.m. And on Wednesday nights, we start Bible class at 7 p.m. So come on to Oak Hill. You can find our address on the website. Show up. We'd love to have you. Absolutely,
Yep.
we would. Yeah.
And for those adults and those parents, you need Jesus too. So bring your kid, come. We have classes for all ages, and this is how it's supposed to be, man. There's a good community, like you said, man, a good
Sure.
community to hang out with, people that are trying to go to heaven. So
Hmm.
good deal, buddy. Well, all right, buddy. Well, I appreciate it. I
Yes,
enjoyed
sir.
our time. Thank you for all for listening, and that'll conclude today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.